Hello, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to create stop frame animation in Serif Draw Plus and also the different tools and techniques that we can use. Right, I'm going to keep this simple. Right, obviously I've got a car and I've got one frame. So if I want to animate the car, then I'm going to need more than one frame. So if you're using a flipbook, you'd have to draw the car on obviously one page of the flip book. Then you'd have to go to the second page and you'd have to draw the car again, but move it a little bit. Lucky for us, because we're using this software, we can simply clone the frame, which means we just get another copy of the frame, which then allows us to move the car a little bit and then clone it again and move it and again and move it. So it's really straightforward. Okay, so we're just cloning and moving to build up our animation. We can also use, if I just use something called onion skinning, which you should have used in your control assessment. Well, onion skinning allows us to clone, but then when we move, we see where the object was in the previous frame. So this allows us to track the frame by frame movement of an object. Just makes us create a more accurate and precise animation. Okay, so that is cloning and onion skinning. Okay, really easy. Other things that you need to know are obviously like backdrop, so I could easily add in a petrol station backdrop as an example into my animation. Right, I'm not going to bother doing it, but obviously then that picture would be at the background of this animation. One other important thing is to talk about frame rates. And frame rates are very important when we create animation because it allows us to alter the speed. So obviously there I've got quite a smooth animation, and you can see that my frame rates at the moment are set to 100 ms, which is 100 milliseconds. So if I change that 100 to 200 and then I preview it, it's going to slow the animation down. If I increase it to 1000 and preview, then it's going to lag, it's going to stop and start because each frame is now 1000 milliseconds, so it's 1 second for each frame. So it doesn't produce a smooth animation anymore, it's more of a stop and start animation. If we go the opposite way, so if I, oops, wrong button. If I go back to properties and let's put it back to 100, 100 is pretty good because we've already discussed that is smooth. If I drop that down, wrong button again, to say 50, then it's going to be a much faster animation. If I drop it down even more, say 10, it's going to be so fast that it just blurs. Okay, so that's the frame rate. But in an exam, and it's a bit annoying, if I just show you the exam question, the question in here, it says further down, state two effects that increasing and or decreasing the frame rate would have on the animation. What the examiner wants you to say here, even though in Serif Draw Plus, we, for example, if I want to make this slower, I would make the milliseconds higher. What it wants you to do here is say if you increase the frame rate, then it's going to be a faster animation, and if you decrease it, it's going to be a slower animation. Okay, it just happens that in Serif Draw Plus, when we increase it, it actually gets slower, and if we decrease it, it gets faster. So in the exam, I want you to do the opposite, and that's a bit confusing, unfortunately, but that's the way you've got to do it. So if you increase the frame rate, it's going to get faster, and if you decrease it, it'll get slower.